I'm Eleanor Lowden Pidgeon, and I'm going to be doing a demonstration showing you how I paint with watercolor. I've been painting with watercolor for about 20 years now. I studied fine arts when I was in university, and after graduating I actually worked in advertising, not doing art, but working in advertising. And having my first child actually enabled me to start my fine arts career. I love working in watercolor. I love the medium because of its ability to move the paint and how it feels, and it's rich and it's glowing and it's beautiful textures. I became part of various watercolor societies and learned how to paint transparently, and was very frustrated with the fact that the paints disappeared and evaporated, and if you hung it next to an oil or an acrylic, they disappeared on the wall. So I was frustrated with the transparency of the watercolor medium, and I was frustrated with the pale pastel-like look to them. So when I paint in watercolor, I paint somewhat differently. So when I take my photograph and I print it in black and white, I automatically have a value sketch ready for me. So here you can see that I have my dark values, my warm values, and my brights, as well as my middle tones. So that's what I'm going to be working from today. Setting this up, because it's my own photograph and because I don't really have a problem with the composition, I can work right from this as my value sketch. So I'm going to draw right onto my support, and as I mentioned before, I take my watercolor paper and I adhere it to the gator board. So I've got a fairly stiff support there. When I draw onto my support, I use watercolor crayon, and I try to take a color that's not too dark in value and something that will disappear when I paint over top of it. When you're drawing with a pencil on watercolor, because of the transparency of watercolor, you often get the pencil lines showing through, and I like to have those disappear as much as possible. So I'm going to start drawing now onto my board with my watercolor crayon, and just blocking in the basic shapes. So this is pretty much all I need to show you in terms of my basic shapes, and the rest will be done with the paintbrush. I do an underpainting first of a bright color, and that's going to be my permanent rose color. So I'll paint the entire road with this permanent rose. And it's a very transparent layer of paint, so I'm just putting a little bit of paint, working it into my brush, and applying it to the road. This permanent rose can be actually a lot stronger than you'd think, even though it's a wash and it's a transparent color. It can come through quite strongly. And we'll leave that to dry. I'll go back into these trees on the right-hand side and put in some more color. This being a little bit of that yellow-green, green-gold. And going straight into my quinacridone violet, putting that in over here as my darkest dark for now. I don't want a lot of detail over on this side. I want the emphasis and the focus really to be where all this bright color is. So even as I apply this paint over top of the cobalt blue that I have there, it still shows quite strongly through the quinacridone violet. need to deepen this a little bit. I don't want it to be as bright as it is, so I'm going to take some burnt sienna and paint burnt sienna over top of the quinacridone violet. Kind of makes an Indian red color when you paint the two together. And you'll notice I don't paint over all of it. I'm putting another coat of paint on top of it, but I'm letting some of that quinacridone violet come through. And I'll take my smaller brush and get some cadmium orange, and come in here a little bit with some of that again. Get some more of the burnt sienna. And take it onto these trees as well. So I'm minimizing the detail that's happening over here by joining up. Now I'll have to let that road dry a fair amount, but I will go back up into this area here and work out some of the designs that I've got happening. So I use that yellow gray again that I've tucked in behind here, and I'm going to make some of this tree disappear if I can. And take the yellow gray up on top of that tree in the background. The beauty of the opaques is that they do cover quite well, and so you can change your designs or your drawing.